Hear from the public. Anyone want to come forward and speak?
You can line up. I know
Yeah.
a lot of you are here. So.
Hi, I'm Oscar Velasquez. I live in Emeryville Village. I wonder, why do they need a waiver to this if they're not going to make noise? It doesn't make any sense. Or is it because they cannot work right now during the weekends? I live very close to the high school, and I work during the day at home, and I even my house vibrates, and I don't know if they're going to make that kind of work while they're doing this waiver on the weekends. But my concern is that it doesn't make any sense why they're asking for a waiver, and they're saying that they're not going to make noises on the weekend. And why do they need a waiver if they're not going to make noise? That's my question.
Thank you.
Okay, now they're saying they're going to be completed with the date for opening the high school is January 2016. We all need to remember the school district promised us the high school is going to be ready in August of 2015. That's when the Center for Community Life was approved. That's when we were going to be ready. So now they pushed it back a whole semester. Why do they do that? Why is there suddenly a big problem with time now? The reason is the school district started building almost a year later than they said they were going to start. So they started late, and now suddenly it's our problem. It's like I don't have a lot of empathy for a group like that. Anyway, they need to answer. They want a noise waiver. If they expect the neighbors to now give up their weekends, we need to find out why did they start this project a year too late. I mean, I've asked them that, and I've never gotten an answer. And I think you guys should ask them that. I mean, there needs to be some accounting here. They can't just be this sloppy, and there's sort of an arrogance here, actually, and I just find it sort of kind of reprehensible. Now the gentleman from Swinnerton, who's representing the district's interests, looking out after the builders at Turner, is essentially saying that this is not to worry here. This is essentially a placeholder, and we only want to reserve the weekends. And he said, should we need it for some reason? Well, if you grant this waiver, there's going to be a reason every weekend. I mean, I'm in the business. I know how this works, and so we shouldn't kid ourselves here. So I think you need to get to the bottom of why the district started their project almost a year late before you just grant pell-mell waivers, noise waivers like this. And remember, we have a noise ordinance for a reason, and I'm sort of tired of seeing the council constantly allowing favored developers, especially like Pixar, allowing them, like Pixar was allowed like a whole year of weekends. And it sort of runs roughshod over the idea of a noise ordinance. So we have it for a reason. There needs to be extenuating circumstances to overturn our waiver. To overturn our noise ordinance. And is it going to cost the district more money if you say this? Yeah, probably. But that's not your fault. It's not our fault. It's not that And if they start laying this on the children, well, I say, that's phooey on them. They started the project late. It's their problem. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
I moved to 53rd Street 2 years ago, and there are elderlies that have been owning their homes over 50 years, and they no longer can sit on their front stoop and get sun because of construction. So 2 days of the weekend, because 53rd in the history of this area is big. And it's a community where we barbecue together, we get together, and the construction has made a nuisance of noise. And we understand and are excited about the school. We were more excited when the football field was actually getting in front of us, but there's a point where people have mark and history here that shouldn't be disturbed or bothered. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Michelle Velasquez, and I'm at right across the street on San Pablo Avenue, directly across the street from the construction. And I work remotely quite often, and there's quite a bit of noise where I have to leave my house just to get some work done. And if I have to endure that every weekend, that doesn't seem quite right to me. In addition, rightfully said, someone else spoke and said that if they're going to only do interior work, there really doesn't need to be a waiver. I'm happy for them to come in on Saturday and work, but they don't need a waiver to make noise. You know, I'm not saying they shouldn't work. I'm just saying they don't need a waiver. They need to keep the noise down, make sure that that's not happening. People need their weekends. Everyone works hard, and we'd like to enjoy some time that we can on our own. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joan Strasser, I've lived in Emeryville Village 12 years, and only a row of redwood trees separates me from the field where the work is being done. So my bedroom looks out on the redwood trees, so needless to say, I'm right there. And I work during the week, Saturday and Sunday being the days that I have off. I would say what the lady just said with regard to not needing a noise waiver if only non-noisy interior finish trades are being done is accurate, and I don't mind if non-noisy interior finish trades are being worked on Saturday. I wouldn't even care if it was Sunday. However, on a case-by-case basis for a one-time noise waiver for exterior work, concrete pouring sounds quiet, but I would really request that the council not give any waivers that will be that loud that early in the morning. And I know when we were having painting done at recently at Emeryville Village, on Saturdays, lots of times they didn't show up till like 11 or something, so it's not impossible for workers to do a half day or do a couple hours less, and I would request that at least on Saturdays that the workers not arrive until 11, even if it's a one-by-one case. Please don't have our mornings of our weekends ruined by noise waiver noise. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Susan Scott, and I'm at 5200 San Pablo Avenue at Gateway Commons. Our whole first row of units, like I think there's about 5 of us that work at home. My husband and I don't, he works full-time at home, and I'm many times working at home. So we live there and we work there. There's also elderly people, there are sick people, and there's about 21 children who live there. So anyway, it sounds like, it's pretty obvious. Why would you need a noise waiver for what they're saying is not going to be noisy? So, just vote no on the waiver because we don't need it. That's all.
Thanks.
Hi, my name's Beth Calvet. I live at 4824 San Pablo in Gateway Commons, directly across the street from the ECCL site. And when I received the notice of the proposed waiver, I was obviously shocked and stunned. Completely opposed to it as the way it was written. So I heard the planning department's recommendation, which I really appreciate, but I'd like to make a couple of comments, and they're redundant to other comments that have been made. Number one, why grant a noise waiver if they're not going to make any noise? Because in my mind, that opens it up to making noise legal, right? So if there was a noise waiver based on the, on the precedent that there wasn't really going to be any noise, then they actually could make noise. So that would be disruptive. And then my second point is that, the noise ordinance is so important for a community. But it's also important for city council to be able to make exceptions to that. And I think that when you do make an exception, it should be based on facts and a really good reason. And in this case, I really don't feel like there is a reason. It's all like, well, if they need to work on weekends, maybe a year from now, you know. And I just don't think that's a strong enough basis for you to be able to grant the waiver. So, you know, there's a couple of things that the contractor or the school district rather could do. They could go back and reevaluate the schedule and look for points in the schedule when there may be activities that they may want to work on weekends, and then come back and ask for a specific waiver for that time. Or the other thing they could do is, you know, usually in a construction project, there's an indication that the schedule is going to slip. And I'm not saying that they wait till the last minute, but they could wait until there's, you know, a better indication that they would need to work on a weekend. So I would ask you to please vote no on the waiver. I also want to add one thing, is that in, you know, the last couple of weeks, I've been looking at the websites a lot, and I noticed that there's not a lot of update on the ECCL. I think the USD has the ECCL site, and the last time it was updated was like 9 months ago, so somebody might want to work on that. Thanks.
Thanks.
Hi, my name's Mary Malik. I live on 53rd Street, right across from the construction. Right now, the noise, the backup beepers, the diesel engines starting before the stated hours of work. They do start their engines before. The backup beepers start immediately. The work might start on time. I'm not sure exactly, but the noise starts well before the time of work is supposed to start. I appreciate the fact that you've amended the noise waiver, but I also agree that if there's going to be non-noisy trades only being used, let's not do this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ian Malik. I'm a resident on 53rd Street. I have been since 2002. To speak to the point about work starting before 7 a.m. during the weekdays, that's true. It frequently starts at 6:45. There are backup beepers. I do not believe that if this noise ordinance is passed, that they will start work at 9. I think that it will continue to start below or before that time. The high school had been a good neighbor over the last year. That's not the case. This is not the case. We are woken up early. We're woken up before 7. Our houses are dusty. It's just incredibly disrespectful to the neighborhood. Please, listen to the community.
Thank you.
My name's Monty Thompson. I live on San Pablo in Gateway Commons, right across the street from the project. Just want to add my voice to all the others. In the first place, waiver, I think, is the wrong word for this. A weekend or two might be a waiver. 18, 19 months is not a waiver. This is a suspension of the noise ordinance. And a noise ordinance is important to the quality of life. The project is already a big impact on our lives, so we can't even open our windows because of the dust, and I hazard to think what's in that dust. I guess that's about all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Roger Mills, and I've been a resident, I was a former resident of Emeryville Village, but we still own a condo there and have for 10 years. And I would echo the sentiments of the speakers before me. I think there should be, the noise waiver should probably not be addressed in the sense of leave it in place, don't remove it. There's no need to remove noise that's not going to occur. If they say it's not going to occur, then there's no reason to have a noise waiver. So I would recommend that you not remove the noise waiver in any way. I'm glad to hear about the changes, by the way. They are very respectful to the people in the neighborhood. And the other thing I'd like to say is that I think it's fine if you need to approve Saturday work that's going to be non-noisy inside the building. However, if you do that, I hope not only for that, but during the weekdays, maybe the city could appoint some sort of monitor from the city who could go in occasionally in the mornings and see what's really going on and see if there is any noise. And I don't know what enforcement ability the city has in that case, but if there is noise, I hope the city will work to mitigate the situation and minimize the noise. I did live in Emery Bay Village for a number of years, and I think Emery Bay Village and 53rd Street and the people on San Pablo Avenue are bearing the brunt of any inconvenience for this project. And so I hope the city will continue to be respectful and be aware of the inconvenience this is causing the local residents there. So again, I do appreciate the changes, and I sure hope you won't eliminate the noise waiver, because when you eliminate those sorts of waivers, noise seems to occur all of a sudden. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Celeste Burrows. I live at Watergate, but I want to support the quality of life of my neighbors who live near the ECCL project. We all want the benefits of the center of community life, but we don't want it at the expense of those who are living near the project. If the noise is loud enough to require a waiver, then it's noise pollution. And noise pollution is a known health hazard. Damages not only hearing, but brains and hearts. One study near an airport found that even if people were sleeping, high levels of noise cause blood pressure spikes, increase pulse rates, and set off vasoconstriction and the release of stress hormones, and that these effects, the high blood pressure and the stress hormones, continued for many hours after the noise ended. And perhaps for these reasons, a different study found that workers working in noisy environments had 2 to 3 times the rate of heart problems compared to those working in quieter settings. 19 months is a long time to have these effects go on. The World Health Organization recently stated that noise pollution from such things as traffic caused more health damage than the air pollution from that traffic. And we all know that the air pollution from traffic is very damaging. And lastly, a study in a school found that the students whose classrooms were on the noisy side of the school facing an elevated train platform were a grade level behind in their reading compared to students in quieter classrooms. So noise has really been called the most underappreciated health hazard of our times. In this particular case, I think it's the effect, well, as everyone has stated, the effect on thought, concentration, and overall peace of mind is probably the worst effect, because the noise permit that's being requested affects the Saturday time when people are home, relaxing and enjoying family time together. So I don't see how we can in good conscience tolerate having our neighbors be subject to this kind of noise damage for 19 months. So I ask you reject the request for a waiver. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Judy Timmel. I'm here tonight representing Residents United for a Livable Emeryville. We did discuss this issue at our meeting, and we issued a statement of or a vote of support for the neighbors, just to let you know that it's not only the people in the immediate area who are concerned about this issue, but all the residents, or many of us anyway. It seems like with this construction company, compliance is already an issue, and so I am very concerned about issuing them such a blanket waiver. And I agree with the person who suggested monitoring. I think that's really important. So, thank you.
Thank
you. I'm really moved by all these people who live in Emeryville out here. I just want to say that it's interesting that Dr. John Rubio isn't here tonight. He was here the night that the deal was signed, and maybe I don't see him, and just my flavor, I have barely any experience with Emory Unified School District, other than I went to 2 meetings recently and had some other interactions, but my general flavor is that it is very closed there and it's very non-transparent. And hearing the woman mention that the website hasn't been updated in 9 months, I just really feel the overtime is going to be jacked up if people are working on Saturday. The project's already a year behind. It does not feel right. It doesn't sound right, and I would vote definitely don't go ahead with this waiver.
Hi, you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, you're lucky. I can't hear. So I don't see any noise problem. But I want to stress something that is basic physics. The sound, travels so far, but the intensity decreases with the distance. And so the further you are, the less you can hear it. And second, as the beeper, we're disconnecting the beeper, the backup beeper. I don't think it's in compliance with OSHA. I think OSHA wants to have a beeper. What I would suggest is that we change the pitch and the frequency of the beeper and make it sounds like a horn of a car, and that would be less irritating than a high pitch. That's my suggestion. And the second one is also that if we are going to disconnect the beeper, and we have to make it sure that the disconnection is not only temporary, but that is alternative. In other words, if you have lots of wind on the work side, it's no sense to disconnect the beeper because the sound is not going to travel very well. Depends if you are upwind or downwind. But you have to think about it, and it's just like an aircraft. You hear it coming, if it comes from the right way. If you don't, then you can be upset about the noise. But myself, I'm frustrating when I can't hear. Bye.
I believe you've already spoken.
One more time?
You have to take your entire time when you're up here. Is there someone else that wants to speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hi.
Good evening, hi. My name is Della Grant. I live in Emeryville Village, and I would simply like to concur with the views of my neighbors and all of the others in close proximity to this project. And we all have a right to the expectation of quiet enjoyment. I work 5 days a week. I like the weekends because that gives me an opportunity to unwind. Can't do that if there is a lot of noise going on, and there is a lot of noise already. So I would ask that the council please consider the request of the community and not grant this waiver. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to be heard on this? Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing.